challenges very often give you also a lot of new ideas, but when there are no obstacles, something is not working. So I learned that fear is the mind killer. I would say that I dream to become a business hero. Hi everybody, I am very pleased to be here with you today. And yes, so I am Alessandro Farina. I've been living in this country for the last 30 years. I was coming at the age of 24 to Hungary, so I was one of the young guys in this country, and let's say one of the few that has remained since then, with love, with pleasure, with passion, and I could develop my profession in this country. So after I start in a stage with an English consulting group, I moved to a second English consulting company, and then I set up my own business. And since then, we are growing and enjoying working on this market, on providing services to international companies in the field of tax, legal, accounting, payroll, HR, and so on and so on. So it's a country that gave me really the pleasure to try out myself, to make a lot of experiences, to meet a lot of people. And every morning I wake up with the joy of coming back to my office and looking what's expecting next. In this philosophy and in this field, we are also pleased to be the founder of the new project that we are going to talk about, that is the Atlas World. The definition of business is not always easy because it's a very common word, has been used in a way too much, okay, but without always thinking to the meaning of it. I would say that business is creating values, is creating value for the business society and for the society that we are living in. So it's something that, let's say, is well done, is well presented when it creates and satisfies a need for the business society, for the society itself. Okay, so it needs to be useful for people. And therefore it's something that is changing constantly during the time, because every year people is reinventing, is redefining the values, is using creativity, is using sustainability, is linked very often to ethics. It is, let's say, changing according to the needs that the market, the people is perceiving. And each one of us is doing it in a different way, and is doing it according to his own, let's say, characteristics and character. Very often, business is associated immediately to money. I would say that money is the consequence of a good business, but it cannot come as the cause or the principle of it. That's always an interesting and tricky question, because the combination of business and hero gives a new picture that is very often so far still missing. Business heroes are those people that are able to combine their, let's say, skills, their business skills, as we were mentioning, but with a very strong impact on the future of our society. As we were mentioning, the hero is somebody that is protecting, is somebody that has the call to save the world, or to make, let's say, our world better, a better place to be. And the business hero are those people that will make a better place. We see more and more of these, let's say, examples coming up in redefining what is needed and leaving a fantastic message for the people, for the generation to come. For example, in 2019, when we launched the first Atlas Award, we wanted to pride, we wanted to represent, we wanted to give our recognition to the, for the first time, let's say in our project, to a business hero. And the business hero we chose was a fantastic lady, an entrepreneur, who was able to represent all those values that we very strongly believed in. So what we want now for the future is to create a community of those people that we love to call business hero, that have, let's say, a call, that have, let's say, a deep feeling about what the values that the society will needs for a better future. I think that my journey started long time ago, as you can imagine, once that I decided to try my own destiny and to build my business. That was back in 1995 when I decided to set up the company. In my case, it's I think the background where I come from made it maybe easier to feel, to hear the call, because I come from a family of entrepreneurs where everybody in the family, from father and mother's side, cousins, uncles, whoever, was creating and doing its own destiny in its own, let's say, setup of business in completely different fields. So one day I realized that my moment was there. I had to build and to go and to try my own adventure. And I think that Hungary was a wonderful place for me to do it. So I was able in this country to try out all my skills, all my mistakes too, I have to say. But it was a learning by doing experience that went on and on and on, and is still not finished, of course, that I really do with big love. So the call was a kind of natural call in my case, and it is when you feel it is absolutely fantastic. It gives you those energy and adrenaline that you never lose during the whole way, and of course the problems are not missing. Probably the question is which non-obstacles you encounter in your journey, because obstacles are basically daily obstacles. Of course, some of those are very small, some of them are real challenges, but even the small ones, sometimes they look like a giant or like a mountain. And that depends very much, of course, how you start your day, because you are not always with the top, let's say, power and energy, and so sometimes you feel also the small things as oh my god, what should I do now, how do I go further? And I have to say that from this point of view, sometimes you need, let's say, to think about, maybe you find the answer on the next day or a week later, and very often you look around. So nobody, I think nobody of us has always all the answers in his own, let's say, pocket. And so we need, let's say, to digest the problems, to look the obstacles with a kind of cold distance, and to look around who was able to solve already such obstacles, and to inspire each other or ourselves, let's say, from the experiences of other people who did it in the right way. And once again, there is no, let's say, right receipt for that. So I went through a lot of obstacles with a lot of mistakes and a lot of good learnings out of them. In Hungarian, they call it the tanulópénz, so it's the money of learning, because each mistake costs always, let's say, energy and sometimes also, let's say, financial resources. But that's such a great way to go through and to feel stronger every obstacle that you cover and you go through, that there is a moment in which it seems that nothing is scaring you anymore in life, because you went through more or less all of them. So it makes you stronger. Every time it gives you new challenges, challenges very often give you also a lot of new ideas because the company was able to change, my business was able to change very often thanks to the obstacles. It was a moment of rethinking what I was doing, and with whom I was doing it. And very often new people joined, bringing fresh, let's say, knowledge and ideas, helping me very much to go and to grow further. So unfortunately, obstacles are needed. That's let's say it's not easy to say, but when there are no obstacles, something is not working. During these last 3 decades, more or less, I realized that every more or less 5 years, and that was a teaching from one of my uncles, you should look back and look what has changed. And in a way that was true, because if I split down in 5-year pieces, let's say this period, I realized that every 5 years I was reaching a kind of tipping point where I was not able to grow or to develop it further. So that was the moment when I had really to change what I was doing or the way I was doing it. And that was the moment when new colleagues joined the company. And thanks to their presence, so the value of the people and the people working with you, it's amazing, it's a must. We were able to build further and to develop it. So the lesson is that without the right people next to you, very difficult to go any further. One of the interesting things, for example, for us was that during the crisis in 2008 or during COVID recently, those moments I was in a way scared, okay? Like probably a lot of you too. I mean, what is going to happen? What's going to be the future? There is a moment in which we get so many, let's say, negative messages and so much pressure from the environment around us that we really have no clue what's going to come. Those were the periods, for example, with my very big surprise, that we were able to grow more in our activity, in our business. And why? Well, we have been lucky for sure. I had the right people for sure. So all, let's say, the right combination of elements, of course, it's always an advantage. But it's also true that in a moment when others were probably not pushing any further, or they were, let's say, more conservative, we took a very, let's say, positive and enthusiastic approach. And that was the moment when we have been, let's say, probably more visible even to our clients, to the market, and helped us a lot to develop, let's say, our activities. So I learned that fear is the mind killer, and that is one of the things that we very much believe. And people needs positivity and needs trust to develop what he wants. Yes. Now the question is, what is a mentor or a leader? Because very often we think at very big names, okay, that of course we can read about, but they are not close to us. I am inspired by a lot of these people, and each one of them probably by one piece of what they were able to create and to develop. But I prefer to look at, let's say, the people closer to me. I still remember in 2007, more or less, 2006, a very, very good friend of mine that has worked with me for several years, a little bit older than me, but let's say just by the age and not by, let's say, his character. He was the one that convinced me to change, let's say, the office space where we were previously working. And seems a small thing, okay, so what, you change the office. The point is that we went from a very, let's say, tiny, old stylish place to where we are now. And that was a brave move with a very, let's say, heavy economic impact. And we did it. It happened in 2007 with the crisis 2008 just coming next by. So I was a little bit scared, as you can understand, because I had still to digest the whole change. But he was very much present during that period next to me, and we did absolutely great together in developing the situation. So I think that we needed to find always the best part of the people around us, because there is a lot to learn always by listening. And I don't believe that we have always to look for, let's say, for the biggest names in the world to be inspired, but we have to learn to look with different eyes around us. Well, the two things are probably not going to be together, okay? But the lesson I learned is that I tried probably too many things. I tried out myself too many times, let's put it so. In the sense that I went from services that's my main profession, okay, in supporting investors, and that is a business that I understand. I tried myself out in a production company once, and I realized that I had no understanding at all about the economic cycle of that business. I tried myself out in other commercial activities because during the last 30 years it happened that I entered into several other, let's say, business lines, and I failed a lot of times. But every time I entered with a lot of, let's say, enthusiasm and passion with these activities, but I realized that sometimes I was a dreamer. So there is a moment when you have to learn yourself, basically. And probably that is when they call wisdom and the age is helping, okay, is to try to avoid those announced mistakes that are going to come. So a lot of my failures in business terms have been wonderful experiences, because I loved and I don't regret, but by now I know what I shouldn't do again in my future. And some of those, I definitely learned a lesson, I think. My contribution, or I would better say our contribution to the society, and when I say our, I mean it with a lot of the people that are working with me and that believe in our company values. It is a kind of a natural, how can I say, part of the company. We have let's say, let's put it so, we have a profit and a non-profit area in what we do. By now we have, let's say, separated completely also from an internal, let's say, definition what is for us the first and the second one. The non-profit area that is not, let's say, intended to be like a foundation or an association or whatever like that, but is where we put a lot of our energy, a lot of our beliefs in transmitting and transferring our knowledge in favor of the society. What do I mean by that? It is in 2008, for example, we established the first newspaper in Italian language speaking about business news, Hungarian business news for the Italian community. And that was absolutely, it was a kind of a gesture to help entrepreneurs or people working in this country to better understand the country. Then we realized in 2010 the database of all Italian investment, because once again nobody had a clue which companies were present. We wanted them to network between each other and to have the chance to know each other to help their presence once again in this country. In 2014, we launched, we published a book that has been, let's say, very much appreciated by the institutions of the two countries, in Italian, of course, once again, okay, because that's where we come from, okay. We started, especially with Italian business. But now, everything has changed. Now we become much more international than it was a long time ago. Then in 2012, we established the Budapest Business Party that has become, let's say, an iconic party in Budapest, networking party, and that was our, let's say, answer to the crisis of 2008. Everybody was just giving negativity as a message. We wanted to give positivity as a message. Then COVID arrives, and we created a storytelling platform that is called Fear is the Mind Killer, because once again, a lot of people were blocked by the fear of, oh my God, what should I do tomorrow? How should I go on? So we wanted to create, let's say, the feeling of, yes, difficulties we cannot avoid, but let's at least learn how to manage them, okay? And then we created in 2019 for the first time this Atlas Award. That was this prize, this award given to, let's say, common people that are, let's say, around us, so not necessarily from a multinational environment, but good people that have to be taken as an example for a better society. And we very much believe that for the future we want to pride these people and to, let's say, recognize and having them recognized by all of you. So we want to put them, let's say, as under the right spotlight to say, hey guys, I mean, there are good people around us. Let's see them. Let's share with them. Let's understand their motivations, why they're doing good for the society. And unfortunately then COVID was coming, we couldn't make it again, we are going to restart it now. And now we created this Atlas world that is, let's say, the wish to create a community of like-minded people that believe in the values of ethics, sustainability and creativity, because we think that these three main, let's say, words are going to inspire and to create, to embrace, let's say, all those values that we very much believe in. And I have to say that with satisfaction, in a very recent networking business breakfast I was going, it was fully, let's say, of Hungarian entrepreneurs. There were, let's say, the three thematics that to discuss. If they wanted to speak about, I don't know, it was the development of the business or with challenges, or business integrity and management, the integrity of the management. And with really big satisfaction, I saw that the large majority of the people in that room decided that that was the area they wanted to talk more, because that is what they start to feel as the need. So business integrity is becoming more and more relevant and felt by people that have already, let's say, developed a business, but they need to, let's say, to strengthen, to change it, to create the right values in the company. And you need, of course, to speak about business integrity from this point of view, very much. So I would say that our contribution in this case is the creation of the right environment where like-minded people can meet. Because very often those people are, maybe they have everything in their head, so they have those right values that we are talking about, but they don't find the place where to share them or other people with whom to discuss about these topics. So we want to create the platform for them to, let's say, to give more visibility to these people and especially to the topics, because those topics are going to create culture. It's like a business culture. It's like when you want to create in a company a business culture, okay? So let's put together these people. Let's use the energy, the positive energy of these people. Let's shake it together And I'm sure that we will give, let's say, a great contribution to the business society where we live for this generation and for the next to come. It's always difficult when you have to make so-called names, okay? But and as I mentioned, I don't want to make it too easy calling Gandhi or let's say the big names of the history that we all have in front of our eyes. As I mentioned, I prefer to keep, let's say, the example of people next to us who, in a way, are, let's say, contributing to making a better society from this point of view. And if you ask me the question in this way, I would say that to my mind comes my young cousin. It's true, it's not here in Budapest, okay, she is in Italy, but I tell you why. Because I have the feeling that sometimes the new generations are thirsty and hungry for a change, much more than our generation. My young cousin started her own business activity just a year ago, and she started in the field of sustainability with sustainable products, bio products, but in such a way, in such a fantastic, let's say, presentation and collection of products that she has already been interviewed by several television and newspapers because she's bringing in a new fresh message and a new, let's say, business model, I would say, call it also, from this point of view. And of course, I wish her fantastic success for the development of what she's doing. So every time that we look at the business heroes that we have in front of our eyes, I have, in a way, a kind of a generational gap that I feel a little bit because or you have, let's say, the big entrepreneurs who reached the big success, and once they reach it, they say, okay, so what? What's next? And that is the moment when they start to create, let's say, something completely new, something that very often is in favor of the business society, is ethical, is sustainable, they create their own foundations, they create a lot of, let's say, activities that are absolutely valuable and very, let's say, important for all of us. Or we have, let's say, the very young generation, and very often when we look at the new, let's say, startups and new business, we see how much they are linked, let's say, to sustainability, to ethics, to social impact, to inclusion, to a lot of those things that we are, in a way, now trying, okay, to create a platform for, or to create the business community, okay, to put them together. So it will be very interesting to see, let's say, which kind of business hero will be able to include in this. So I'm very looking forward for that. Well, due to the fact that we are creating this whole project about the concept of the business hero, I would say that I dream to become a business hero because I feel more and more, let's say, the wish to do it. Let's say that a little bit, yes, I consider a little bit myself a business hero for all those activities that I mentioned in favor of our business society. Of course, it's all drops in the ocean. It's bits and pieces that are not really, let's say, so visible to the rest of the world. And I don't think that, let's say, that is the key point. I think that if, as always, each one of us makes its own contribution in a way or in another one, and nobody of us is perfect. So I don't wish, let's say, to be seen as, let's say, the perfect man. This is not the point. I just think that if I will be able to keep this, let's say, enthusiasm about the project, about creating the community, about continuously giving back to the business society what the environment is giving me, because if I get, I can donate, if I give, I can receive. And so, yes, a little bit, yes. I wish to be considered also a little bit of a business hero, or at least I hope so.